Hello, welcome to Pensions in 10 with me, David Brooks, and my colleague Chris Rice. This week we take a look at what's changing in the scheme returns and, of course, the budget. Okay, Chris, so our first story, we normally get about this time of year the regulator warming us up to changes for the scheme return, which will be due next year, so March time next year. So what couple of things are in there that are new that you spotted this time?
Well, thankfully, nothing too arduous and not requiring significant information from a lot of trustees. Just a couple of pieces on the investment, which you'd expect given the changes and the commentary around it over the last couple of years. So firstly, probably the most common one expecting that will affect trustees is more detail on LDI and how that LDI, in the light of extreme events and how collateral will be dealt with, any automatic sales processes, waterfalls that the trustees have in place. So most trustees will have gone through that process with their investment consultant, as the regulator has suggested, ensuring that all of that is there so that they can meet any calls to the LDI manager. So the regulator, for some reason, not trusting that that's been done, wants evidence of it in the scheme return so that they know that that's happening. So not a surprise seeing that one. The second one probably affecting just larger schemes, and again coming from public comment around certainly what the DC have to do around private investment and UK investment. They want to see that that's happening or understand the extent to which it's happening in UK DB schemes as well. So those bigger schemes over 1.5 billion will need to outline what they're holding so the regulator can understand how much of it's in UK private investments.
Okay, thanks for that.
So, Dave, yet again, and what a surprise, we've got a raft of budget speculation to go through. So I think you'll probably choose each of these separately, but I'll hit the headlines first. We've got a load of business leaders urging the UK Chancellor to do more on UK investments for DC schemes. Whether or not contributions are going to be employee contributions are going to be able to still be exempt from national insurance under the salary sacrifice route. The requirement and need to reform the ill health retirement provisions for including pensions, and the old favourite, whether or not we're going to have the tax-free lump sum anymore. So in case you haven't remembered all those, and I've got them written down, the first one was the UK business leaders and more investment in UK for DC schemes.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, I suppose, that these 250 business leaders, I mean, I think they're fighting a battle from the past, because a lot of what they're talking about is things like, oh, back in the 90s, pension schemes had 60, 70% in UK equities and 40% in bonds. Why has the world changed? And the world's changed because pension schemes have changed, people have changed, and financial markets have changed. DB schemes don't need all that risk anymore, so please don't keep trying to get more risk into the DB space, because that's just not going to happen. And sort of diversification of DC investments always felt like the right thing to do and has been the mantra for years. And to suddenly start saying that we need to be focusing more on one jurisdiction over another is probably not going to work, in the sense of if we're looking purely at outcomes for members. If you just want to have the best retirement, then let the investment experts invest in the way they think is going to give you the best risk-adjusted return. That's what you want. If we want to have a pension system that's pivoting towards supporting the UK in a sort of protectionist type way, then fine, but we have to accept that the upside might not be quite as good if you don't do that. And if we want that, then as a society, then fine. I just think it needs more of a debate than just the government saying we want you to do it, certain providers saying we'll sign up to something maybe one day in the future, and then business leaders saying you should do more. Ultimately, pensions are there to provide a pension for the individual. But if you want them to be used something else, then make the argument, I think, rather than just suggesting it needs to be done come what may.
It's a bit of a slippery slope as well, isn't it? We've got an awful lot of debt that needs buying, and the next stage is we want you to buy gilts, please. Yeah. And that's telling in pension schemes what to do, rather than them having the fiduciary duty to invest on behalf of their members, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's worrying, but I'm not surprised these business leaders have come forward, but there we go. What
So
was
we had
next?
salary sacrifice next, and the thing on this in me, it's just one of those that there's so much talk about tinkering with lots and lots of little taxes and just hit the big one, which it seems like the way that she's going to go. And this seems one of those that just seems like it's going to cost more to administer than it's going to really bring in.
Yeah, we all got worried about this a year or so ago. I'm trying to remember when it was now. HMRC did a little consultation on changing salary sacrifice, which got people worried. And it seems to be like they're going down one of their options, which is capping the amount of pension contributions that can get salary sacrifice to around £2,000 or something. Like you say, it's probably going to raise 2 billion in the big scheme of things. Is that going to be very much? Will people find a way to work around it? Maybe, don't know. Um, my feeling about this one is it it feels like the government are doing so much to sort pensions out, and the pensions bill is massive. One of the reasons I'm in a different location, I'm in Sheffield today, going around all our offices, telling them, all the teams about all the stuff that's happening in the world of pensions. The pension schemes bill takes up a lot of that session because there's so much in there about changing the way pensions are going to work for the future. And I know you're like rugby, Chris, so you might like this sort of try analogy I've just thought of. I feel like the government are doing so many good things to sort out pensions and the way they work. And they're just about to get to the try line, and they're just going to fumble the ball by saying, "Oh, let's just change the way salary sacrifice," which is a great way of getting more money into a pension because it's well, basically a higher take-home pay for the person, and employers save as well. So all in all, it's a really good thing if you're getting money into pension, and then just going to suddenly go, "Well, let's get rid of that really great advantage." It feels like it's a real fumble right on the goal line. So. Or the try line, sorry, to keep my analogy correct. So, yeah, I just think it's a real shame that they're thinking of doing it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's and just the complications of it. Oh, the maximum £2,000 or whatever. It's just trouble. Just find the money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Uh, ill health retirement. Sorry, not IHT. Ill health retirement. Can't say it. What is it? IHT.
Yes.
Inheritance tax. Got there.
Yes. There's been more discussions. So the House of Lords have been talking about this a bit more. And it had actually, I would recommend watching it, actually, Steve Webb and Ros Altman talking through their concerns for the way the system it might work in a couple of years. So 18 months' time is when we'll have the new system. And there are real serious concerns about the way it's going to be implemented. I think there's probably less concern about the policy aim still. People probably think that taxing large DC funds that are being used as a wealth transfer is probably the right thing to do. So the government seems to be doing it in the most ham-fisted and haphazard way possible. A lot of concern for personal representatives because there's a lot on them. I know the industry breathes a sigh of relief because there's less on us, but there's a lot on them. The timescales are too short. And I think there's a couple of things that trustees who might be listening who need to start thinking about is that process, but also the power of discretion, whether you need to have a discretion in there anymore, because this system will effectively say if you've got a will over here, we're dealing with all your assets and everything you've your house and everything else, and then you've got over here your pension, and those two things are usually kept separate. So your will deals with one lot, and your domination in your pension scheme will deal with the other. If the pension side is no longer discretionary and inheritance tax free, then it gets quite muddy, and what the benefit of not having a binding nomination goes away. And so trustees are going to start thinking about whether to speed up the process, whether we fetter our discretion and just pay to a spouse if there's a spouse, or pay in line with the will. But if you start paying in line with the will, people might have written their will a certain way, knowing that X is going to go to one lot of people and Y is going to go to another lot of people. And so individuals are likely to start thinking about how wills and pensions nominations work. And that in itself is going to get quite messy. So I think there's a lot of stuff on the sort of the accounting for the tax side of it, which is a nightmare. But there's also the side of it on the process side of it that's going to create some conversations and some head scratching, I think.
Yeah, 18 months. 2028 or whatever it was, but
27, yeah.
That doesn't sound that long.
No, it doesn't. No, it really doesn't.
Sounds like there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
And then the old favourite, which is potentially causing some members to take action now when they don't know what the answer is, the tax-free cash.
Yeah. So there's kind of two bits to this. Rachel Reeves has sort of intimated in the same briefings that have been given to the press about the salary sacrifice. They've said that tax-free cash is going to be left alone, which is great news. Hopefully it is. But HMRC have also, I wouldn't say clarified, because what they've done is quite weird, but they've done a statement basically saying, reminding everybody that you can't pay back tax-free cash. If you take tax-free cash out of your pension scheme, you can't have a 14-day cooling off period, change your mind and pay it back. it to one and it's done, which has always been the law. But they've sort of given a line in the sand saying 9th of December 24 is saying anyone who did it before then, we're not going to investigate you and charge you unauthorised payments tax charges. But anyone who does it after that and now in the lead up to this budget in particular, we will come after you for the unauthorised tax charge. And it's a bit strange because the law is the law. It's a bit weird that they're sort of saying we'll let one lot off and not the next. But we could speculate why, but I don't think we've got time.
Well, thanks for that, Dave. Just makes me wonder what will happen in December when all the budgets settle through and whether there'll be enough to talk about. But there's always something. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week.